Satanic ritual abuse? Am I crazy? Or did it really happen to me? Let us remember with this sort of thing that we shouldn't punish all the accused. We all have huge sections of life that we don't remember. When someone asks with worry, did something wrong happen? Possibilities will occur in similar ways that dreaming after something can be affected. We do have to be wary of what the media includes and how they say it when we continue or pass on accusations. It is easier to believe a child who describes actual abuse than someone with a long time in between the events, particularly when someone says, I didn't know, or I didn't say anything back then. Many of the satanic ritual abuse survivor claims included actual abuse, but the ritual element is largely assumed, except maybe for particular fetishes. And that usually doesn't appear particularly satanic. Reasonable doubt in the memories needs to be taken into account to protect the innocents. Some memories can be symbolic or transferals of truths. Adolescents seeking experience need to be distinguished from actual abuse victims, as do those with desires to actual abusers. That implies much of this is a failure to admit culpability or distinguish between possibilities and what was done. I've witnessed how damaging it can be to someone to treat them like a victim for the behavior that they consented towards. Of course, you do want to regard the legal consequences of your behaviors, but nature doesn't operate in terms of, well, let's check the age here and oh, were they drinking or smoking before or that sort of stuff. Um, of course, that is a different issue than if the events happened. For safety issues, it is a good idea to disassociate with false accusers. Those who know they might be distorting or inserting memories are responsible for what they put their victims through. Because people are acting like, why should you sue psychologists who encouraged and distorted what they had no indication was true? Isn't it like a quarter of recovered memories are totally false and even more are distorted from the reality? Once a person is convinced that it could have been done in worship of the devil, and it was done by people in a church pretending to be Christians. Of course, a person can be a sinner and a Christian too, right? That's why the effect of Christianity on morality it's notable, but it's minimal. Then the narrative tends to build, but most of it doesn't seem to be anything but Christians. Because that's what people keep saying is that, oh, well, they must have really been Satanists rather than Christians. And some people will abuse their authority and their position to get away with stuff. Early on, we found that a lot of the priests were having affairs and visiting prostitutes, and the church was even losing money from that, not just through the marriage of the priests. So the whole celibacy thing being required happened after some of that. And certain claims about the clergy, while there's actually not a difference between Protestant and Catholic or some other group that has celibate clergy and these claims. It doesn't, it's more about what country or culture, as people would call it. Of course, let's not fall into this nonsense that somebody is of a particular culture because of their skin color. It's more about religion and country and stuff like that than it is about ancestry. But the clergy have less of issues when it comes to the abusive behavior and stuff of different types too than the congregation. The congregation less than those who never ever go to church or any and those who don't identify as having a spiritual path at all, those further. But the difference isn't such that you should just put all your trust into any individual further up the line. And there actually isn't a difference, you could say, when it comes to these behaviors between professional clergy and those who do it devotionally. Now, financial issues and crimes like that, sure.